evening, everyone. My name is Isaias Perez. Today we would like to discuss a debatable topic about spanking our children, or should I say corporal punishment. Corporal punishment is defined as the use of physical force with the intention of causing child pain, but not injury, for purposes of correction or control of child's behavior. Now this may seem straightforward to understand, but for many people in the U.S. and throughout the world, they see corporal punishment as a positive act, or some may refer it as a negative act. On the other hand, for others, corporal punishment is not a solution to correct a child because it brings negative effects to the child. Some parents in the U.S. will refuse to spank their children, and they use other methods to treat the child's disciplinary acts. As Americans, we must take into account that disciplining children vary from country to country, and the education on how children should be disciplined depends on parents. Although the U.S. the corporal punishment has been banned from public schools, the practice of corporal punishment is still in use today. Now, we will head to our interviews with our latest reports on the community on how they think and they believe on corporal punishment.
All right, so I'm here with Haley, and we're just going to ask her a few questions. Now, to begin, do you know what corporal punishment is?
No.
All right, so corporal punishment is basically physical punishment, such as spanking your child as discipline. So, what do you believe is it okay for you to use on your kids? Yes or no?
No.
Why?
Because it can leave very impacting psychological damage on them.
Good answer. So, what do you think some of the pros and cons of corporal punishment is?
I think that the pro would be you put a band-aid on a situation, and I think the cons are you can leave psychological damage to your child and they can have really terrible responses to it.
So you believe in some ways it is effective and then some other ways it's not very effective?
Temporarily.
Okay, so yeah, thank you for answering the questions.
In the journal article titled Corporal Punishment as a Stressor Among Youth states that children who receive ordinary corporal punishments were 3 times most likely assault their siblings. In addition to corporal punishment is that children who were punished by physical force had negative effects on behavior and mental health issues, like depressions and thoughts of suicide. Another interesting fact is that a study that was conducted by Bryan and Freed stated that college students who were physically punished in childhood manifested long-term effects such as having few friends, negative social interactions, and high levels of anxiety and depression. Teenagers who were physically punished associated with drinking problems, depression, and thoughts of suicide. The National Research Council also shows evidence that physical abuse shows levels of trauma. Recent studies show that corporal punishment has linked to certain behavioral patterns such as loneliness, lack of relationships with siblings, and lack of interactions with society. The use of spanking a child can bring long-term effects from childhood to adolescence and from adolescence to adulthood. As a result, very few parents do engage in physical punishment because some parents go out of hand and fear that the child's psychological health can be long-term affected. Now, we will hear from an additional report from the community on this topic.
All right, so we have Isaac here, and he's just going to answer a few questions for us. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
All right, so the first question is, do you know what corporal punishment is?
I think I do. Corporal punishment is the physical punishment from a parent to a child.
Yes, or in other words, is physical punishment such as spanking used to teach discipline?
Absolutely.
So, first question, do you believe in using it for your kids, yes or no?
Absolutely. Being that I am 50 years old, so I'm from that generation where spankings were very common in the house and also even in the classrooms and schools. I definitely believe in it.
All right, good. Another question. What do you think are some of the pros and cons of corporal punishment?
I think there's a lot of pros. I think it's reinforcement of what's right and what's wrong. I don't think there's any abuse associated with it. I think it can be abuse, but as long as it stays within the limits of not abusing a child, I think there's a lot of pros to it.
Any cons?
The cons would be exactly the opposite, going too far. The physical abuse, mental abuse that could be associated with it. The physical harm that you could do to a child if you take it too far. Those are the cons.
All right, good. So you do believe it is effective in a child's upbringing?
I believe it's very effective if used appropriately. Once again, I think if you're not abusing a child with it, but you're using it for positive reinforcement to correct wrongs that the child may be doing, to steer them in the right direction, I think it could be very effective, and I think it is very effective.
All right. That's all the questions we have. Thank you so much for doing this interview with us.
You're very welcome.
So we are here with Justice, and we're just going to be asking him a few questions about corporal punishment. Is that okay with you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So the first question is, do you know what corporal punishment is?
Is it that when, like, parents, like, whoop their child?
It's basically physical punishment such as spanking as a form of discipline on your child.
Okay.
So yes. Now, second question. Do you believe in using it for your kids? Yes or no?
Yes.
Why?
Because if you don't, the kids are gonna think that they can do whatever they want without getting punished for it. They need
Good answer.
discipline.
Very good answer. So, what do you think are some of the pros and some of the cons of corporal punishment?
Well, pros, kids, they won't act up that much. I feel like they won't get out in trouble. They'll know what they'll get if they get in trouble, so they won't act up. But cons, I would say maybe the best I could think is that the kids feel like that their parents don't love them, that they're just willing to hit them whenever, which is a bad thing, but that's the only thing I can think of.
Okay. And last question. So, do you believe it is affecting when bringing up your child?
Repeat that one more time?
Do you believe it's effective when you're bringing up your child, raising your child?
Yes.
So, why?
Because,
Keeps them in line,
Yeah.
All right.
So they won't act up.
Good. Well, thank you so much, sir.
No problem.
Another article presented to us titled Corporal Punishment by Parents and Associated Child Behaviors and Experience, presented and brought by Elizabeth Thompson from the University of Columbia, states that physical force or physical abuse is characterized by the infliction of physical injury as a result of punching, beating, kicking, biting, burning, shaking, or other ways harming a child. The parent or caretaker may not have intended to hurt the child, rather the injury may have resulted from over discipline or physical punishment. Now, depending on how we should discipline our children varies from parents. Some may use a spanking, or others may use spanking with an object, or some may go a little bit too extreme far. Now, interestingly, an analysis reported that spanking concludes to a total of 26%, physical punishment 24%, slapping or smacking or punching 20%, spanking, slappings, biting, or hitting with an object 16%, and other forms of corporal punishment that takes to an extreme only 6%. This is a general overall of parents on how they discipline their child. Regardless of on different views on disciplining your child, corporal punishment has its positive and negative effects. To some, it's a helpful because the child will be more behaved properly. The ones who claim the corporal punishment is an unacceptable way to punish the children have their studies that show that have long-term effects on the child. Considering that everyone has their different views on how to discipline the child, of course, as parents, we must also consider that our views depend on our cultural and religious backgrounds. However, in the United States, it is legal to discipline and discipline in different many methods a child. Now, we have here a presented a claim that sometimes the severity depends on on the action that the parents take. As parents, do keep in mind that if you are treating your child with a strict punishment, keep it at a safe way that will not physically injure your child. For those who do not use a corporal punishment to discipline their children or the child, continue to use other methods to discipline your child. I am Isaias Perez, and corporal punishment today was the latest news. Thank you.